I'm Sylvia Gordon. Rebecca is taking my mom to a doctor's appointment today. So I'm going to talk about Medicare Part B increases all by myself, which is something that the American public is pretty much up in arms about. And you need to be able to answer what happened. So what happened was, of course, inflation. We were expecting that. That's why they got a record Social Security cost of living increase, which they will get in January. One of the questions you might get is, do I get the cost of living increase? I'm on Social Security supplemental income, or I'm on survivor benefits. I'm on spousal benefits. I'm on disability. Anybody that's on Social Security will get that cost of living, okay? That will go into your check in January. So that's a low-hanging fruit, easy answer that you can give out without knowing much about Social Security. Then they're going to say, what happened with Medicare Part B? Why did it go up a historic 14.5%? Well, part of the answer, which if you've been following, I talked about a couple weeks ago, is that it was artificially kept low last year in one of the COVID relief bills. So they were trying to give some relief to seniors by not letting it take the full increase that it should have taken, because Medicare Part B is based on the Consumer Price Index and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole formula they have to figure. So instead of letting it go as high as it should have last year, they gave the seniors a break. Well, nobody even knew about it because the year was such a firebomb that people weren't appreciative that it was artificially low. So they got to grab that increase from last year. Plus, we have unprecedented inflation this year, utilization from last year that we're going to grab. Plus, they padded it a little bit. They threw in some extra dollars every month per all the beneficiaries on Medicare for unexpected and unprecedented drug costs from Medicare Part B, primarily, if you're still with me, due to Aduhelm, which is the new Alzheimer's drug. So the new Alzheimer's drug, which again, I started talking about in June when Mount Sinai and Cleveland Clinic, I think, both said, oh, we're not going to do it. It is approved by the FDA for use with Alzheimer's patients, of which there's 6 million people on Medicare that have Alzheimer's, even though the drug has not been proven at all to have been effective. It's a hopeful drug with no proven efficacy. That costs $56,000 a year per patient for a course of treatment. $56,000. And it's an infusion in a doctor's office, which falls into Medicare Part B, not D. And B, boom, it's helping drive up the cost of Part B for everyone, even though it doesn't work. So if you have Alzheimer's in your family like I do, we want something. We're desperate for something. We haven't had a new Alzheimer's drug in years. But this drug is driving up the whole ecosystem. It can upend the whole economics of Medicare Part B, and if they keep doing this stuff. So that's another whole subject, which is Aduhelm. But when your clients are asking you, what happened? The easy one to say is not to go into the Aduhelm thing, which maybe adds $2 a month to everybody's. It's to go into medical inflation and what happened last year with COVID relief. And that's a perfect storm right there. And that drives it up on everybody. So Medicare Part B, for the average American consumer, the majority of them will be paying $170.10 per month starting in January. So they got a 5.9% increase in Social Security, which they were like, yay, unprecedented. It was like the highest in 20 years or something great. Well, the euphoria lasted a very short time because I kept saying, don't party. If you're on Medicare, it'll more than eat up your increase. So they got a 5.9% increase. They got a 14.5% increase in Medicare. So yes, everybody on a fixed income went backwards, which of course they're not happy about and is really changing the course of the rest of the proposed legislation, because there's a great discontent right now against the current administration for a variety of reasons. But for the senior bloc, which is the most reliable voting bloc, you don't want to get them mad and you do want to get them happy. And right now, they're mad. So I'll talk next week about the Build Back Better plan and what's in it for seniors to hopefully make them happy so they will be more likely to vote Democrat. But this whole thing, whoever's in power, and do they have the power to pass legislation? So I'll talk about that next week. Let's keep going. let's keep going down this Part B thing because you're having fun, right? So here are the increases since 2013. Remember 14 and 15, we had no increase. And everyone's like, what's up with that? Well, then we had a 16% increase. Then we had a 10% increase. Then we had no increase. We had 1%. We had 7%. Last year, it was only 3%. And now we have 15%. If you look at the forecasts from now until 2029, it's really bleak. And I talk about that in some of the continuing education classes that I do. So one of the things when you're meeting with clients during AEP and OEP is just kind of float this out there. I like to prepare my clients for the future so that they feel like, one, I was a great source of information. I'm a great resource for them, and I prepared them for it. There's nothing they can do about it, but it's not going to get better next year, okay? It's bad, and it's not going to get better. Okay, the brackets, of which there are 5 brackets. If you make over $91,000 as an individual filer, now you're IRMA. So it's funny to tell somebody that's making $91,000 that they're rich. Sometimes I kind of make a joke out of it, especially if they live in California or New York, because they're like decidedly not rich in those markets, right? If you make $91,000 as an individual or you're joint and you file $182,000, you're going to be pushed up into the first bracket, which is $238.10. Now, I don't ask the agents that I train to memorize all the brackets because I can't memorize all the brackets. But you should all know the first bracket. And you should all know that it's based on your modified adjusted gross income from 2 years prior. So these brackets are based off your income from 2020. So go look at it. If you have clients that are getting ready to turn 65 in 2022 and they're like, how much am I going to pay? Get your taxes out. You tell me, and I'll tell you what your Part B will cost. Now, this also comes with the corollary that you also pay more for Part D as well. And they're not prepared for that either. I do get a little bit of backlash. They'll be like, oh, Aetna they told me that I was only going to pay $10 a month for my Part D, but really I'm charged $37 a month. And they're like mad at Aetna or Humana or, they don't understand that is their IRMA that the insurance company is required by law to collect, but they don't keep. The insurance company has to give that to the government. So that's something to put out there too, when them putting hate on you as an agent or hate on the insurance company. This is just the way the law is. The government doesn't bill that IRMA separately. They don't just take it out separately. For the Part D, they will charge they can have the insurance company charge it. So let's go to, you filed less than $91,000. You're at $170.10, okay? They recalculate this every year. So you're like, well, how much can I make next year? I don't know. They just released the rates for 2022, and they typically do it at the end of November. But you can say last year this was $88,000, so you can say, it went up a couple grand, and you can kind of forecast on that. Because people want to know, can I take out money out of my 401k? Yes, you can. Will that negatively impact me as far as IRMA? Yes, it can. And remember, if you're married filing jointly, if he does it, it can negatively impact both of you for up to 1 year. So as much if you're like, I don't do life and annuities, I don't understand pensions, just stay with me. If you just follow this every week, I'm just spoon feeding you a little bit of information that will make you a better resource for your clients. Trust me, when I explain these things to my clients, they're like, this is a godsend. Because I've called Social Security, I've called Medicare, and they won't talk to me about these things. One, they're not allowed to give advice. Okay, by law, they're not allowed to give advice. Two, they're not really trained. They just get a computer and they have to type it in. Depending on how they type it in is the type of answer you're going to get. Most of them don't really have the knowledge. So knowing these brackets is something that I think it should be a base level of knowledge for you. 91 to 114. Is the first level to get to that bracket. It's $238.10. And be sure when you're asking your clients, when they say, how much is my Part B going to cost? I'm going to say, let's talk about your taxes from 2 years ago. Make sure that when you're assessing them, that you look at the husband and the wife. Because the first time that's ever caught me as an agent, I asked the guy how much he made. My mistake. And he said he made 40 grand. And And I was like, cool, you're going to pay this much. And I think back then it was like, $145 for Part B. And he goes, well, that's not right. I called Social Security and they said it was going to be $332. And I was like, they get things wrong all the time, which is true. I always tell people, call Social Security back 3 times, call Medicare back 3 times, see if you get the same answer 3 times. And he goes, no, I called and my wife called. So I'm sitting there going, you made $40,000. Why would you pay a 3rd bracket IRMA? And like totally sexist person, I didn't even consider that his wife could be a high earner. Finally, it dawns on me. I said, how much did your wife make last year? He said, oh, she makes over $300,000. There we go, right? Her income, because you filed jointly, is causing you to pay IRMA. So the good news is your wife makes a lot of money. The bad news is you will pay more every month for Part B and for Part D. It is recalculated every year based on your taxes, your modified adjusted gross income from 2 years prior. So you can watch this video over 2 or 3 times. Just keep watching it if you're a new agent going, wow, that's a lot of information. I am on TikTok. Every day I do one video on TikTok as Medicare Mama. So if you type in @Medicare Mama, you will be subjected to me on TikTok. Yes, it is happening. This is my video on Medicare Part B that I put out there the day that it happened. And if you go read through the comments, you get a really good idea of what the American consumer is confused about, which is like everything about it. So thank you for joining me. Sorry that Rebecca couldn't be here. Tune in next week. If you don't subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. It's free. I'm training you, and most of you do not work with us at Gordon Marketing, and that's fine. All I want is your little subscribe. Just click it. That's your payment. If you have questions, put them down in the comments, and come back next week when I talk about another part of Part B that is brand new this year, that nobody knows about, that is super frustrating, and that is for people that are married but filing separately because they're trying to beat IRMA. So tune in next week.